is episode number 3 of the Chase Down. I'm Chase Sr. A lot to get to here on this show as we react to a crazy, insane day 1 of 2026 NFL free agency. A lot to discuss on that front. Some of my favorite deals, some head scratchers, some player fits that I really like. But first, you know the drill. Hit that subscribe button. This is my new channel on top of what I'm doing on the 49ers Report and on Eagles Now. And I just started this show on Friday night. We're already over 1,500 subscribers. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers with this video. We're always going to be talking about football right here on the show. So if that sounds good and you like this content, hit that subscribe button right now. Get in early and be an early real one. NFL free agency. It's a time of the year that I absolutely love on the NFL calendar. And what a business model the NFL has going right now. Training camp starts at the end of July. Preseason games in August. Regular season starts in September, comes to a conclusion in January. Playoffs start, of course, right after that. Super Bowl in early February. I just got back from the NFL Combine in Indy, which was at the end of February into the start of March. Here we are, March 9th, the start of free agency. This will have a lot of momentum and buzz for the next week or two, but then we're going to see some signings trickle in after that. NFL draft is at the end of April, but we can't start there or stop there because after the draft, rookie minicamp, as we keep tabs on rookies, for me as a content creator, some of those videos do great because so many people are intrigued and interested to see the rookie report cards. Then you've got OTAs, mandatory minicamp, a little bit of a break in June and July. We're back at it with training camp at the end of July. So from my standpoint, talking about the NFL, it is content galore. It has become an 11-month sport at this point. And you look at some of the other professional sports leagues, there isn't that type of momentum. There isn't that type of gravitational pull. There isn't that type of demand, attention, and thirst for content. And so on top of hosting my huge Niners show, Big Eagle show, and now this, I'm the VP of content strategy as well. So I was live today on all my channels, including the Chase Down, for about 6 hours, but I'm keeping tabs on what other hosts are doing, other signings that are happening, other channels that are live. And I'm sitting back and I'm saying, this is so cool. In an era where a lot of sports media companies are getting smaller, shutting down, laying off employees, we have grown like crazy here at Chat Sports, which is another opportunity why I flourished in my career up to this point, only getting started, and I can start a channel like this. And with NFL free agency, there's a lot of hype going in, especially when there's some marquee players who are set to hit the open market. The franchise tag has kind of diminished that a little bit. I honestly wish that the league would go away from that, and obviously that would tie in the NFL Players Association. But free agency is so much better when all these players are hitting the market and becoming unrestricted free agents. And these crazy deals come in. So many overpays happen because that is the reality of free agency. And it's fun to see some of these record-breaking deals go down. But what I love about football, if I didn't get into broadcasting, I was very passionate about scouting or being in a front office. And I like to see what these teams do to put these rosters in motion, put these rosters in place. And I really enjoy watching the team building strategy component of all of this. But what is of note here is that while free agency is sexy and it grabs headlines, it's loud, it's visible, it's entertaining, it's fun, there are a bunch of holy shit moments. Free agency is not usually where championships are won. And the teams who spend a lot of money in free agency oftentimes are not the teams that win Super Bowls. And I'm just thinking back over the course of NFL history, Bill Walsh's Niners drafted and developed. Free agency really wasn't a thing at that time. That was in the 80s into the 90s. The Steelers in the 70s drafted and developed because free agency wasn't much of a thing. Cowboys in the 90s, same deal, right? Then free agency started to become more popular over the last 2 decades. But the New England Patriots drafted and developed. I mean, Bill Belichick was very bullish on not paying some of his players, letting them go. And at that time, some people thought that he was crazy letting some of these stars go. But Bill Belichick wanted to draft, develop, build a culture, and he didn't want to overpay. The Kansas City Chiefs. Can you really name me marquee free agents who have moved the needle for that team? Patrick Mahomes, drafted by Kansas City. Travis Kelce, drafted by Kansas City. Tyreek Hill, drafted by Kansas City. Chris Jones, drafted by Kansas City. Creed Humphrey, drafted by Kansas City. You know, I'm from Philly. The Eagles and Howie Roseman, he's been in his bag drafting. And this is a real stat. Since Nick Sirianni became head coach in 2021, I think the Eagles have drafted 22 players in the first 3 rounds. 21 of them have ended up being starters for the Eagles. The only one who hasn't, Sidney Brown, who has started at times and was in the running for a starting job last year. So you think about the teams today that spend big in free agency. The Las Vegas Raiders, they had a fun day. They are good for business. The Raiders haven't won a playoff game since 2003. The Raiders went nuts. There are some deals that I like, some deals that I don't. I like some of the strategy that we're seeing from John Spytek, who a lot of people across the NFL really like, but there are also some gross overpays here. Eric Stokes, 3-year, $30 million deal. In this exploding corner market, $10 million per year, I like it. Center Tyler Linderbaum. I was interviewing Eric DeCosta, Ravens general manager at the NFL Combine. He said that they had offered Linderbaum a market-setting deal, but they couldn't come close to 3 years, $81 million, $27 million per year. If Tyler Linderbaum played right tackle, he'd be the second highest paid right tackle in the NFL, behind Penei Sewell and ahead of Lane Johnson, one of the best players of this generation. That is a center who's making that. He reset the market by nearly $10 million. Creed Humphrey was the highest paid center at 18. Tyler Linderbaum, $27 million per year. And I'll talk more about Linderbaum here in a moment. Wide receiver Jalen Naylor, I like it. 3 years, 35. Kwity Paye, 3 years, 48. Good edge rusher at stopping the run. Nakobe Dean, 3 years, 36, $20 million guaranteed. But Quay Walker, 3 years, $40.5 million, $28 million in guaranteed money. Gross overpay. I thought last year he wasn't good. But in a way, culturally, I don't hate what Las Vegas is doing. I took a lot of crap for this, but I said it in, I think, October, as early as October of this past year. Raiders should trade Max Crosby and Brock Bowers. They should get 4 or 5 first-round picks back for those players, and they should start the rebuild. Raiders fans thought I was crazy. What did they end up doing this past Friday? The official launch of the chase down. Traded away Max Crosby. Helps your rebuild. So now Raiders have pick 1, pick 14, and they've got 2 first-rounders next year. This year, they are absolutely chock full loaded with draft capital. You hit on those picks. That's how you kickstart a rebuild. That's how you get your organization back on track. But it's also the philosophy of it. You have the number 1 pick. You're going to take Fernando Mendoza. I think the skill set translates really well to the NFL level. Throws with really good timing, touch accuracy, anticipation, like the character, fun interview, being around him at the NFL Combine. He's always smiling. He's upbeat, but he is tough as nails. Solid mobility too. But you pair that quarterback up and you link him up with Clint Kubiak, who is an offensive-minded head coach for your rookie quarterback, and he's called plays, so he's not going to have to deal with having a new OC every year. And you can see that vision. At pick number 14, you can get a premier player of need for your rookie quarterback. Now you have Tyler Linderbaum, who comes from Baltimore. Great culture there. It's a 3-year deal, so you have some leeway there. $27 million per year for a center is a ton. But he's also a really good player, and he's going to help protect your rookie quarterback. most important person in your organization. A guy like Nakobe Dean, the Eagles organization loved him. Players respected him. He was the leader of that Georgia crew. The Eagles defense played different and had a different mentality when Nakobe Dean was on the field. He's been a part of teams that, like last year, won a Super Bowl in 2024. The Raiders need that type of cultural impact. So some of the moves don't like, but I kind of like this direction that the Raiders are going in. This year, do I think they're going to be a playoff team? No. But in 2 years, would it surprise me if they are? Not at all. Tennessee Titans. Not the best, most well-run organization, right? A lot of rumblings about their ownership. They go on a spending spree. Some deals I don't like. Some deals I do like. Daniel Bellinger, the tight end, 3 years, 24. $8 million for a blocking tight end who can catch some balls. It's not terrible. Wan'Dale Robinson, 4 years, 78. That's a little bit much for me for a guy who's strictly a slot and he's small. Defensive lineman, John Franklin Myers, 3 years, 63. 21 per year. Average annual value isn't bad there. Cordell Flott, 3 years, 45. 32 million guaranteed. Alontae Taylor, good player, not great. 3 years, 60 million with 42 million guaranteed. On one end, this Tennessee team could be really interesting. And up front, they're going to have some dogs for Robert Saleh, a defensive-minded head coach. Jeffrey Simmons. They made the trade for Jermaine Johnson. They signed John Franklin Myers. And with where they are in the draft, what is it? Number 4, number 5? They could draft Reuben Bain. They could draft David Walker. I mean, that is a fearsome front right there. Now, what they have to do, of course, is get Cam Ward some help on the offensive side of the ball. And that's definitely a little bit of a concern for me. But on defense, David Bailey is what I meant to say, not David Walker. On offense, though, they got to find some pieces for Cam Ward. But what do? You bring in Brian Dable. Brian Dable helped develop Josh Allen. He was very raw coming out of Wyoming. Brian Dable worked under Bill Belichick. He worked under Nick Saban. He's looked at as one of the better offensive minds in football. He maximized Daniel Jones early. I know it got ugly after that, but he won a playoff game over Kirk Cousins with Daniel Jones. And that's Cam Ward's OC now. And they've got some decent pieces on offense. But you see some of these contracts and it's like, woof, that's a lot. And this is sometimes why bad organizations stay bad. The Bengals, Boye Mafe, 3 years, $60 million, $20 million in guaranteed money for a average annual value for a player who didn't even start for Seattle last year. He was good early in his career, but again, that's a desperate organization that has mismanaged a lot of things over time. They've historically been cheap. What if they just last year or the year before gave Trey Hendrickson a contract extension, which probably wouldn't have been that much more than 3 years and $60 million for Boye Mafe, and any team across the NFL would take Trey Hendrickson over Boye Mafe. This is why bad organizations stay bad, as I said. Brian Cook, 3 years, 42.5. It's a lot of money. He's a good player, but the Chiefs letting him go, kind of telling. That's what the Chiefs do. Again, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, Tyreek Hill. They have drafted these players. These players have been critical components of their team. But when it comes time for those players to get paid, the Chiefs are fine with letting some of those guys go because they don't want to overpay for those types of players. The Browns, they let every member of their offensive line go from last year's team. They give guard Zion Johnson 3 years, $49.5 million, $32.4 million in guaranteed money. That Chargers offensive line was a joke last year. Zion Johnson did not play well, and the Browns give him that much money. So the point here is that some of these contracts, some of these deals are celebrated and people get excited about the teams who splurge in free agency. But you got to be careful because the teams who are often the biggest spenders making the most headlines in free agency aren't the teams who are lasting into deep January, playing for a Super Bowl in February. Another side note, the offensive line position group has become the most overpaid position in free agency. You are seeing ridiculous contracts for some of these good but not great offensive linemen. Like last year, Aaron Banks got $18 or $19 million per season. The Packers already restructured the contract because they regretted it. He was bad and injured in 2025, and he was an okay player for the 49ers. As for some deals and player fits that I really like, Mike Evans to the 49ers. There are concerns and there are risks here. 32 years old, hamstring issues the last 2 years. But as far as what Kyle Shanahan looks for in a wide receiver fit for that Niners offense, and how the routes that he runs can complement the routes that Ricky Pearsall can run, this could be a really good fit for San Francisco. I also think a big reason why the Niners made this move is what Brock Purdy excels with is throwing with timing, touch, accuracy, anticipation, and he gives his receivers opportunities to make plays on the football. You put the football in the neighborhood, in the zip code, the vicinity of Mike Evans, he's going to come down with that ball. And we saw this all the time over the last couple of years between Brock Purdy and Juwan Jennings. I thought the Niners were a little bit soft as a team and on offense last year. Mike Evans is a future Hall of Famer, in my opinion. He started his career as the only player in NFL history to have 11 straight years of going over 1,000 yards. He's 6'5". He plays bully ball. He can box you out in the red zone. He can go up and get it. He's never run that well, but he uses his body well as far as body control and body movements to shield DBs from making plays on throws downfield. And he could be an excellent target for Brock Purdy. And there were some early numbers that came out on that contract. It's even better than I thought. The Niners could pull off highway robbery here. 3-year contract worth $42.4 million, $16.3 million in guaranteed money. There are, of course, incentives where he could earn more, but that could end up being an awesome deal. And it's going to be weird to see Mike Evans in a Niners uniform, not in a Buccaneers uniform. Kenneth Walker, 3 years, $45 million at Kansas City. It's $15 million per year. So Saquon's making 20. Christian McCaffrey's making 19 plus. Derrick Henry's making 14, 15. But we have seen a rise in the running back position of late because as offenses went more pass happy a few years ago, they started to spread things out. What have defenses done? Playing more too high to limit explosive plays because of the Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill Chiefs. Offenses have tried to get very fast, vertical, sideline to sideline. What have defenses done? They've countered that also by getting rangier defenders. But now, after that overcorrection and that adjustment, we've seen teams get bigger, more physical on offense and get back to running the ball and being more balanced. Saquon Barkley, Offensive Player of the Year in 2024. 2,000 rushing yards in the regular season, great playoff run. Christian McCaffrey, Offensive Player of the Year in 2023. More than 2,000 all-purpose yards that season. One Comeback Player of the Year this past year. Kenneth Walker late in the year really came on. And I know that his career up until that point had been a little bit up and down. He was also splitting carries with some other guys. But as far as contact balance, vision, physicality, toughness, picking up yards after contact, getting to the edge, he's a good player. And Kansas City has just lacked some offensive physicality over the last couple of years. They've been soft along the offensive line. Isaiah Pacheco is run hard, but talent-wise, he's not close to Kenneth Walker. They haven't been nearly good enough at the wide receiver spot. And as Patrick Mahomes comes back off this torn ACL, they can establish an identity with Kenneth Walker running the ball. And then once Mahomes comes back, this is a great back for Mahomes. And a lot of people don't look at Kenneth Walker as a great receiving back, but on screen passes, which is what Andy Reid has always done. Brian Westbrook in the early 2000s, LaShawn McCoy after that with the Chiefs. Walker can be really effective there. And going into this offseason, I thought Kansas City needed to make a move at a running back, whether it be Walker or Travis Etienne. I like Walker better. Isaiah Likely, $13.3 million per year with the New York Giants. Reunites with John Harbaugh. No longer in the shadow of Mark Andrews. Jackson Dart is really good at targeting tight ends. He can be a great safety valve. Isaiah Likely has made some big-time wow plays in some big-time moments. He is a superb athlete. He's 6'4", 6'5", can jump out of the gym, throw down windmill dunks, go up and get it, climb the ladder, red zone threat, but he's a force in the open field. You look at some of his highlight reel-worthy plays, that's an impressive stud right there. And at $13 million per year, I like that for New York. They're building something there. Dart, Scadaboo, Neighbors, Likely could be in on a Brian Thomas trade. Look out. In an exploding offensive line market, as I was just alluding to, the Giants lock up a top 10 right tackle in Jermaine Illuminor for $13 million. In free agency, I'm always looking for great value deals. Illuminor is a great value deal. I like the fit of Kobe Bryant to the Bears, 3 years, 40. Defense needs to get better. And yeah, John Schneider let him walk for more coin, but Kobe Bryant was an excellent safety on the back end for Mike McDonald's defense. And that Bears defense last year was pretty hard. They generated a lot of turnovers. Outside of that, they were not good. Linebacker Devin Bush to Chicago. He was great last year. 3 years, $30 million, $10 million per year. You see Fred Warner making $20 million per year. Zach Bond making 17. Devin Bush is at 10. The Seahawks retaining Josh Jobe. That's a starting outside corner, making $8 million per season. The Seahawks gave up, what, a fourth and a fifth for Rashid Shaheed? They give him $17 million, but I trust John Schneider. Retaining a player who he gave up capital for, who's the best return man in football. And on offense, you can use him as a gadget guy. And with that vertical speed, he's one of the more breathtaking players in football. It was a little bit of a surprise to not see some players go off the board day one in free agency. No Trey Hendrickson, Devin Lloyd. Who was I just about to mention there? Oh, Reek Woolen still out there. For Trey Hendrickson, no player had more sacks in 2023 and 2024 than Trey Hendrickson. 17 and a half sacks in each of those two seasons. Injury-plagued season in 2025, and it was unfortunate. You know, he didn't do anything in training camp. There was that contract holdout. Bengals gave him more money. But anytime a player can't partake in training camp, we saw it with Nick Bosa. We saw it with Trent Williams. We see it with these contract holdouts all the time. They try to ramp up to get into football shape. They can't. And because of that, their play suffers. So Hendrickson seeing Jalen Phillips get $30 million per season when he's had a torn Achilles and ACL at the NFL level, medically retired in college because of a neck injury. What is Trey Hendrickson saying to his agent? Homie, agent, Jalen Phillips is getting $30 million per year. We should be in the market for a contract that is worth around that. As for two players who I think could get dealt, who I'm very intrigued by, Brian Thomas, the Jags wideout, excellent rookie year, down year, year two. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, he wasn't happy with Jacksonville this past season when Trevor Lawrence played well. Liam Cohen was really good. The defense was balling, and they were a legitimate team in the AFC. But the Jags are listening to calls for Brian Thomas, one of the top young wide receivers in football. The fit of him going to New York to play for the Giants, to pair up the LSU boys, Neighbors, Thomas, with the offensive weaponry already there, that could be scary. Jonathan Grenard, I think, does get moved as well. And with the Eagles losing Jalen Phillips, I think Jonathan Grenard would be a really good fit to Philly. They have 2 edge rushers under contract for 2026. Nolan Smith, Jalix Hunt. They got to make some moves there. And then it wouldn't surprise me if this week we see Kayvon Thibodeau get dealt as well. And those are really good players there. A team coming out of today that I also think has been gaining momentum from the end of the year until now, New Orleans Saints. They played really well at the end of the year. I thought they were playing better than any team in the NFC South. Tyler Shuck looks to be legit. I like Kellen Moore. They've got some good pieces. Travis Etienne is a dual threat back who's a home run hitter. I like the fit there with New Orleans. They got David Andrews in this robust offensive line market at a pretty good price tag. I think the Saints are building something. And in that division, it's wide open. It would not surprise me if the Saints win the NFC South next year and they make it to the playoffs. So day one, NFL free agency reaction. My thoughts on a lot of the stuff that transpired today. If you made it until the end of the video, give me a real one down in the comment section. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate all of the support so far. Let's get to 2,000 subscribers as soon as possible. I'm really excited to build this thing. My name is Chase Sr. This is the Chase Down. Catch you tomorrow. See ya.